So the law of averages just says that the more you do something, the more likely you are something odd or unlikely to happen is going to be. If you travel a lot, at some point you're apt to have something in your camera bag or your gear that you didn't know was there or you're not supposed to have, especially with TSA being like they are today. So imagine my surprise looking at my camera bag when they ask what's inside, and I'm thinking, well, my camera, when we open it up, and there's a sight, a barrel, and a rifle, and a magazine, because it's kind of hard to explain why you have something you're not supposed to have at the airport, and even less likely that you wouldn't know that something like that would be there, especially for somebody that's kind of not into firearms to the point that maybe some of us are. So when you go to the airport, make sure you check your gear really well. They don't even like to find as much as one round of ammo in your clothing, maybe something that fell through a pocket into your jacket. They certainly wouldn't be happy if they found a rifle there. So obviously I'm not going to go to the airport with a rifle in my camera bag, but how cool is it that such a useful platform fits in such a small area? In that same bag, I've also got a couple boxes of ammo and a spare barrel in case I want to swap the caliber to 5.56 instead of 300 blackout, which is what it's set up for now. The system itself is, the front end is called the Dolos, D-O-L-O-S, and it's named after the Greek god of deception. It's made by Pantheon Arms, and we'll look at it a little bit closer. The rear of the firearm is the Law Tactical side folding stock. And the combination of these two parts on your AR receiver, be it pistol or rifle, of course if it's a pistol you want an arm brace and not a stock. This particular one is a short-barreled rifle, so we're good to go as is. But that creates a platform for you that you can store almost anywhere. And that camera bag, it's not some big giant video camera bag. This is just a little tiny, like a 35 millimeter, film camera body type bag. It's just a little thing. And the rifle, the sight, really nice primary arm sight. Reticle for 300 blackout with a rangefinder and a bullet drop compensator. We'll get into that a little bit too. With ammo and even a spare barrel for another caliber, all in that little tiny camera bag. So let's look at how it works. This is really a cooperation between a couple different companies' technologies, offerings to the market that really allows us to do something neat. The Law Tactical Folder, it's a knuckle, a hinged knuckle on the rear of the firearm that allows the buffer tube to disconnect, holding everything in place. The buffer is still here under spring tension in the stock. The bolt carrier still in the receiver, and it keeps everything still, so when you close it, it's ready to use. Now this entire system and more will also fit in a normal 50 caliber ammo can. How cool is that? That's a serious can of whoop ass. Now I did that because I thought it was funny, and a friend showed me that, and I like it. But I like things to maybe not always be as they seem. And if I'm going to carry a firearm, especially in an area where I don't want to advertise here's a firearm, I would prefer it to look like anything but a firearm. And an old crappy, full-size camera body, old camera bag, that doesn't say steal me or firearm, quite as much as your latest tactical gun case does with whatever the newest fad camo pattern is. So I like the camera bag approach. The ammo can, that's a really cool way to store it too. And it's a lot of fun. Now, I'll take functionality over form any day. I like some things that look cool, but when it comes to this type of stuff, it needs to function and function properly. So let's put some rounds downrange and show you a little bit about this system as all these parts are combined. So let's start at the front, let's start at the muzzle, and we'll work our way to the rear. The barrel system is the Dolos quick change barrel system. As we mentioned at the beginning, this is the second generation. Two things that separate it from the first generation are number one, the ability to use railed handguards or different handguards on it. The thread pattern is now a common pattern. I'll put all of that information in the information below the video as well, but you're not stuck with or limited to just the rail that comes on it. If you like this type of rail, it's been slotted now, so it cools a lot easier than the original one. The second change, and to me the most important one, is it now has a locking system in the bottom. So you pull this little locking pin, and that allows the handguard to turn, and then you can remove the barrel. In the original one, it was tightened up, and I guess you could, if you were firing it and you were under torque, you could loosen it up. On this one, you don't have to worry about that happening. So the testing that we did originally on the Dolos system is it showed that the accuracy was completely repeatable, and I was really happy to see that. It performs like a champ. You don't have to worry about that first cold shot, having to live fire test it if you needed a shot. At least I don't, and I feel completely comfortable assembling this rifle and taking an important shot with every intention of hitting exactly what I want. I found it to be extremely repeatable. And this new system is no different. The only changes, again, are the ability, first you have the slots in the rail system. You have the ability to use somebody else's handguard, if you would like. If you do want Picatinny rails or whatever it is you want for attachment points, and the locking mechanism, so you don't have to worry about it breaking loose under tension. As we move further back on the rifle, we've got the sight. This particular one is just like it was made for this package. It's a Primary Arms ACSS. It's a 1-to-6 power sight with a 24mm objective, and man, this thing really performs too. It has a reticle that is built for the 300 AAC blackout, so you have the ability to utilize it as a rangefinder and as a bullet drop compensator. And because the ammo selection is so wide on the spectrum there, they've taken that into consideration too. So you have the ability to use subsonic ammo with accuracy and supersonic ammo with accuracy. They've really done a fantastic job to make this as universal as they can and still maintain pinpoint accuracy. They've done a great job. It's a 30mm tube, a second focal plane scope, and with subsonic ammo, using this reticle, you can shoot from 50 to 225 yards accurately without changing anything on it. With supersonic ammo, it really opens it up. You can shoot from 50 yards to 600 yards accurately with this thing. And we're going to be reaching out to some of those further distances a little bit later on to try them out. Thus far, I've used it out to 300 yards, and it outshoots me. That's really not very hard, but it's being honest. And moving to the rear of the platform, it's the Law Tactical folding stock. Now, this is something that to me is really cool because the existence of a buffer tube for years has made that so it wasn't even anything that you could consider doing. At least not on a large capacity. There have been some small projects here or there, but I'm starting to see this Law Tactical all over the place. And now I see why. This is the first time I've had any opportunity to spend with it. It's very tight, it's very heavy, it's very well made. They did a fantastic job. It locks up very, very tight. And of course, it captures the buffer tube and the buffer spring. There's nothing to mess around with there. They just did a great job with it. And it really, really makes this a small platform. This does everything for the rear of the gun that the Dolos does for the front of the gun. Let's put a few rounds down range. When engaging targets at multiple distances, it's nice to have a reticle, like in the Primary Arms sight. At least for me, I would definitely rather have different aiming points in the same one without having to adjust anything elevation-wise. This particular sight is calibrated for several different bullet weights. Of course, I have to do everything wrong. I'm going with a 150 grain projectile, which is kind of an oddity, but so far it seems to be working pretty good. I've got some shootsteel.com targets set up downrange at 100 yards, 200 yards, and 300 yards, and we'll see if we can engage those, and you can hear the audio feedback because of the flight time, especially as we get further out. Start at 100. That a beautiful sound. We'll move out to 200. And let's go to 300. I love that. Of course, in my infinite wisdom, the smallest target I have is at the furthest distance. And at 400, they get even smaller. I don't even really need the challenge. I don't know why I did that. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a really cool piece, and we're going to spend a lot more time with all of these components in the near future. As a package, it really makes a hell of a platform. I like the 300 blackout when I'm working with short barrels like this, because the round was designed to perform with a short barrel anyway, so you're not really you don't have to worry about taking power away from your platform just to get the small size that you want. For whatever reason you're looking for a shorter platform, this thing's still going to perform the way that the round was intended to perform. So to me, that's a plus. The primary arm sight, this is the ACSS. I'll have a link to it in the bottom. I got mine from Optics Planet. Same with the Law Tactical folder. I'll have a link for this in the bottom as well. And any order that you place at Optics Planet, if you use the code that's in the description below, you'll save 5% on your entire order. So that's a really cool thing. On the Dolos system, the quick change barrel mechanism, I picked this up from Copper Custom, and I'll have a link to them in the description below the video as well. And all of these things, at least at the time of this video, are all available. These aren't things that are just being introduced at the NRA show or SHOT Show that you're not going to be able to get for a while. These things are all in production right now. So it makes a cool platform. It's a lot of fun. It's very, very small and convenient. It allows you to have a full-size performing firearm, maybe in situations where it typically wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. And we're just beginning to scratch the surface. So I hope you enjoyed the short video. If you did, please click like, share us with your friends in your vast social media universe, subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Don't make me open a can of whoop ass. And until next time, have fun and be safe.